Versa best company.
Versa Business System.
It's a better
Versa Business System.
Versa Business System.
Welcome to the Versa Business Tips podcast. I'm your host, founder and CEO of Versa Business Systems, Shaheen Mazloom. We are here with the founder and CEO of Your Biz Rules business consulting firm, Leslie Hassler. How are you doing today?
Howdy. I am wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us today. So, business consulting, anything to do with businesses. I love this conversation because there's so many different places we can take it. But for those out there that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself and what your company does.
Sure. So Your Biz Rules, we work with other small businesses to get them growing and scaling in a way that's much more predictable and profitable. But our end goal is to banish the hustle and grind, if you would, and help our owners live a more sustainable, improved personal life, not just be kind of slaves to their businesses.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's the biggest downfall of most businesses, right? Like most businesses fail because they end up just working their business like another job.
Exactly.
And they're like, well, if I'm working 80 hours a week and I'm barely making ends meet, I might as well actually just go get a job, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, the reason why we start a business is for freedom, right? And I think every entrepreneur has been there at some point where they realize, oh man, I'm not working on my business, I'm working in it. And it's tough. But so your job is to take a look at a company and where they're at. Now, do you generally work with like newer companies or like startups, or like who's your ideal clientele?
So our clients tend to come in one of three positions. So if they're a newer business, typically they've got a six-figure income, personal income that they're looking to replace. So they're
Right.
very serious and very focused about the growth and the scalability that they're going to get in their business. A lot of people come into us, 3, 5, 10 years down the road where, like you were saying, that just being locked into a job is no longer going to cut the mustard.
Yeah.
They're either thinking about retirement, they're thinking about, oh my God, what am I doing? I've got to find a better way. And I'll say the third group is really people who have already crossed over that 7-figure mark, and
Right.
they thought
Plateaus.
that 7 figures was going to fix everything.
Yeah.
And the magic fairy did not come to the party, right? And
100%.
we get in there and we just help fix what's not working, and then help them meet their growth goals, whatever that may be.
Absolutely. Now, are you guys very data driven, I'd assume?
We do pour into the data, but I think it's really important. We find that we should live in the land of and versus the land of or. Like if you
Right.
say intuition or data, which one? I'm going to say
Right.
yes to that.
Yes. Yeah.
Both, right? It is about the and, not the or.
100%.
And so data, your intuition can tell you some really good things. And I'll tell you, the more locked in you are to your culture, to your values, to your purpose, to your goals, the easier it is for your intuition to be right. Because you don't have to
100%.
fact check yourself, right? I
Yeah.
just know that this will or will not be good for me. But then there's the data. And the data, I think, is what tells us when we're like, you got the back of the neck feeling something's wrong, but you don't know what it is. Data doesn't lie.
Data helps us when we're lying to ourselves.
Yeah. When we first start, one of the things we do is like a business audit, and we will go through 3 years of back data, like
Right.
financials, job reports, timesheets. Like we dig in like you wouldn't believe. And part of that is I need to prove or disprove the theories that you're telling me.
Right.
But the other part is the data Data doesn't lie. It tells me
Yeah.
what's working, what's not working,
Yeah.
and it also shows me where your golden opportunities are.
Yeah.
So oftentimes my owners will like, that's why. And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
need that.
I feel like there's probably a lot of those aha moments. We
Yeah.
met with a lot of consulting companies, and I think it's always good to have an outside, an outside view, an outside opinion of your business because you're in it. A
Hmm.
lot of times when you're in it, you can't see the whole thing, right? Like
No.
it really, really helps when somebody from outside the organization can come in, take a look, and really see what the real is. Because as business owners, we tend to lie to ourselves. We're like, we're profitable and this is our best marketing and this is my best sales rep. And then like you
Yeah.
dive into the data and it's like, no, 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 no. None of that. None
You're
of
like,
that.
actually, it's
Right.
your worst rep. You just
But
like
here's
them
what we could
more.
do yeah, exactly. Like, but here's what we could do to fix it. And
Right.
I think would you say that most people come to a consultant by the time it's too late to fix these problems, or
Mm,
is it usually a fixable solution?
um, a lot of times it's a fixable solution, but I
Yeah.
do agree with you. People operate on the wait and see plan way too long. And we do occasionally have clients that come to us, and I'm straight up honest. I'm like, you're six
Right.
months away from a really hard decision. And when we're this close to that decision, we have a 50-50 success rate. And it is nothing more than the amount of time that we have to put things into action. So
Yeah.
when I tell you to jump, you need to say how high, yes, ma'am. You don't
Right.
need to argue with me because you've got 6 months
Yeah.
and you don't realize you spent 10 years marching day
In
by
the
day
wrong direction.
toward this place you didn't want to be, right?
Yeah.
So if you tell me, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable with that, I can pretty much go, well, now we're at a 90% of surety
Yeah,
that
exactly.
the
That
worst is going to
we
happen.
can't help you, right?
So yeah, I'm always like, when you start to get the wiggles, you need to do something then, because
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard this phrase of the valley of despair. So if you think
Uh,
about the valley of despair, where you're here and you've got this downward slope, and at the very end, that's when you're 6 months away from closing your doors. Like, it's
right.
really hard to climb back up. But if you're going down this slope, and guess what? Data helps you tell if you're going
Yeah.
down the slope. But if you're going down the slope and you're only 5% in, it is so much easier to get you back up 5% or 10%. In
Yeah.
fact, it's probably going to be easier to get you to 30% and get you really up just from this little bitty
Exactly.
dip. But
Yeah.
you wait because you're scared or don't know or don't want to pay or don't feel like you have the time. Listen, you never have enough resources.
Right.
I mean, I could have $1 million in my bank account and be able to spend 1 million in one. But if I didn't,
100%. I
right?
tell people that all the time. I'm like, the thing is, it's, and Biggie said it's more money, more problems, right? But it's not really more problems. It's just your problems become bigger, but they're also not really bigger. It's all relative, right?
It's
So
all
like
relative.
$1,000 is just as important to the guy that makes $10,000 a month
Exactly.
versus 100,000 is to the guy that makes $1 million a month,
Yes.
right? It's all relative and it can
Yeah.
all be handled.
It can all be handled, but take action.
Yeah.
You
That
have to do
that's the
something
biggest
today.
downfall. People don't take action fast enough.
Yep.
100%. They're not taking action is an action in itself, right? Like, and it's usually an action that's going to end you up in a place where you don't want to be,
Yeah, I
right?
don't remember if it's the Who or Rolling Stones. My husband would know. It's like, and part of the lyrics is, even when you fail to decide, you still made a choice.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize that. Is that
Yes.
even when you don't take an action or you don't make a decision, you are making a choice. And
Exactly. It's just like
in
that saying. It's like that saying, like if you think you can or you think you won't, you're
uh-huh,
right.
yeah,
You know what I
by
mean?
Henry Ford. Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. Um there's mindset, there's data, there's action, right? There's all these things that are super important when you're trying to scale a business. But I think the biggest thing, at least for me, is being honest with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like we can tweak the numbers to say whatever story we want, right? Like
Yeah.
we can tell ourselves any story we really want to, but at the end of the day, the data's not going to lie. And if you're really looking at the whole picture, you're going to figure out what's working, what's
Hmm.
not. And, I think people try to scale too early before they have the foundation. right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
we're
Hands
all in
down.
such a rush to get to the goal line. Like, I'm ready to get to that $1 million a year mark. And then you get there and you're like, oh, that's not enough. That's not
I don't like what I
enough.
built.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
I was reading something this morning that I think it said, success is about focus, determination, and patience.
no.
And listen, I like to joke that I was at the end of the line when God was handing out patience. And I've now realized I have a client. I said, guess what? You were behind me in line. I was like, so it's something for me to say, have patience. But I do think that you have to realize that sometimes things are going to take the time that it takes, and we can't rush it. You can't expect to plant a tree from a seed and have fruit tomorrow. It's just going to take the time that it takes. But to your point as well is make sure that the growth you're going to have is in alignment, but do the work of the foundations. Because I see people who can barely walk in their business say, I'm going to scale. And that's like trying to go from crawling to flying. The only thing
Yeah.
that's going to happen is you're going to fall in between. And it's going to
Yeah.
kind of hurt. But you could, if you just slow your roll just for 5 seconds, you would actually be building something that could get you to scaling. But it's not a rocket. It's not a light switch.
100%. Everybody, and I wouldn't say everybody, but for the most part, there's a reason why there's a top 1%,
Mm-hmm.
right? The reason why is action, mindset, attitude. There's a lot of reasons, right? But
Yep.
the one thing that they don't do is they don't, they're not indecisive. They make decisions and they make them fast. They make them quick. And if it's the wrong decision, they make another decision quickly to stop that decision. You know what I mean? Like
Wow.
it's speed is of the essence, except for when it comes to scaling, right? You can't scale until you're ready. It's just like when we go to a restaurant, we're not going to order dessert before we sit down and order our, like we're not ordering dessert at the counter when we're telling the hostess how many people are there. And,
Yeah. Sequence. There's
yeah, exactly. There's an order to things.
Yeah.
And there's been an order to things that have worked very well for a very, very long time in a lot of huge companies. The reason why some people make it and others don't is because they're trying to do things too quickly. They want a magic fix. They saw some coach talk about this type of marketing that's going to,
Change the world.
I'm going to upload all my YouTube videos into this AI and it's going to print me a bunch of viral content and 10 million people are going to know me and I'm going to be rich.
Yeah.
Right? It's like there's no fast fix in any of it. Like I wish there was. It'd be awesome.
I
Right? But
know.
I don't care who it is, unless you're winning the lottery and you've got a really smart business sense. That's the only quick, way to success, right? And even then, most of those people they squander it and don't make the right decisions, and
Yeah.
that's a different story. But
Yeah, we'd rather you took a smaller successful step every day than hinged everything on a Hail Mary.
yes,
Because it's just my concept is everything works in business and nothing works in business.
yeah,
And just because it worked for one person doesn't mean it's a straight overlay that,
absolutely.
I can't find your, I could go, Shaheen, what is your magical morning routine? And
Yeah,
you could give me a list of 10 things and I
right,
can do your 10 things to the absolute letter. If it's
exactly.
not in alignment with who I am, how
Yeah,
my energy works, how my attitude,
it's
all
not
the
going to have the
things,
same effect.
it's not going to have the same effect. And
Right.
that's what we were like, look, stop chasing the magic formulas, look for a better process,
Yeah.
look for good fundamentals and good foundations. But if anyone tells you you have to do it exactly, chances are it's not going to work for you.
Yeah. 100%. When you look at any real successful person or successful company, there's always those things that make them different, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, you can look at companies from the time, beginning of time, right? There's always something that makes them different. There's no set blueprint, no matter what all the gurus on Instagram say.
Yeah.
They don't have the magic pill. They don't have the set. What you really need is you need people that you can trust to advise you, right? You need consultants like you, like our company, like, there's so many good people out there that really, I mean, I would say in the last 2 weeks, I've had a meeting with probably about 12 different consultings in different
Yeah.
parts about different parts of my business.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. Like it's without other people from the outside looking in, like we would be nowhere near where we're at. We'd just be
Yep.
shooting in the wind.
Yeah. And we're doing the same thing in our business. Is we're at a point in time to where we really could be leveraging our assets a whole lot better. Listen, I can do what I can do all day long, but it's still my job to run the company. I want
Yeah.
somebody that doesn't know my company, that hasn't bought into any beliefs or anything like that. If their sole idea is, okay, let's find you more leverage, let's build more revenue, let's expand the business in this way that you haven't thought
Yeah.
about, then that's what I'm paying them for. I'm paying them for not knowing my business
Yeah.
so much that they can identify the opportunities like we do for others, right? It's
Absolutely.
like the benefit is we're 6 feet away. It's
Yep.
not our baby. It's not, it's not the heart part of what we do. I mean, we fall in love with our clients and their businesses all the time. Don't
Yeah.
get me
I mean,
wrong.
and employees too, right? Like
Oh
everybody's had
yeah,
that employee that they should have got rid of years
years
ago, and
ago.
they just hold on to them, right? And you don't
Look
get
back
rid of them
here,
until a
won't get you
consultant or
there.
somebody from the outside tells
Yeah,
you to, right?
yeah, yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
my wife is super intuitive, and like she could meet somebody at one time and she could tell you who they are as a person,
Yeah.
right? And man, it bugs me because like I've now it doesn't. Like I use that. I'm like, hey
Oh,
babe, I
the
need you
skill
to
set.
talk to this guy that I'm thinking about hiring. I need you to
Yeah.
talk to this girl I'm thinking about hiring, whatever. But it's yeah, the right team is so critical, and that doesn't just mean the internal team, but also the consultants and the companies that you're working with, the partners,
Yeah.
right? It's not who you know, or sorry, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yep.
100% of the time. And you said something a little bit ago about Hail Marys. You can take Hail Marys, and Hail Marys are great, but don't hope and pray and count
On a Hail
on
Mary.
those Hail Marys,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think every business owner at some point does that, right? And it could be
Yeah.
detrimental, but it could also be a lesson. Because there's some big opportunities out there that sometimes come around, and you're like,
Mhm.
this cannot fail, right? This
Mhm.
cannot fail. It can't, right? And
Don't break the farm.
yeah, exactly. Like you got to focus on the fundamentals, the foundation, and throw in the Hail Mary at the same time, right? If you've
Yeah.
got two balls, one of them's going to get caught most likely, right?
You
With
look at
sports, you
it.
can't do that.
Yeah, well, in another sports analogy, right, is to have a restrained defense and a comprehensive offense. So if offense is my Hail Mary, I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket,
Yeah,
right? I'm going to diversify.
yeah,
Now, if the more stable you are, the
yeah,
bigger risks you can take. And if I want to throw 3 Hail Marys and see what's going to work, I have to feel safe and secure at home. Like I have
yeah,
to know I'm not going to capsize my business.
yeah,
But if I put them out there, and to your point, one works, great. I only needed
yeah,
one to work.
yeah.
I could let the other two fail, and they're not even really failings. They're
Right.
learnings, because
Yeah,
I'm going to learn
exactly.
something that I'll
Yes.
make money off of in 2 years,
Yeah.
or maybe 5 years, or maybe 2 days. Who knows?
Right. 100%. Yeah. I mean, there's, there's no failing. There's just learning, right? At the end of the
Yep.
day, those Hail Marys are great. And the thing is, you only need to be right once.
Yeah, true
You
that.
only need to be right once. Like it doesn't matter what business you're in. That's what I love about business. At any day, I could wake up and my whole life could change.
Mm.
Right?
Well,
Like I
that's
don't
the
care
important.
what business you're in.
Yeah.
You could meet someone or come across an opportunity or but I mean it can happen either or, right?
Mm.
Something bad can happen and your whole life can
Yep.
change, but something great can happen and your whole life can change. It's the excitement of that. But like you said, you've got to take control of it. You can't work within your business. You got to work on it. You got to really pay attention to everything that's going on. It's those owners that keep themselves so far removed from the guys at the bottom or their sales managers or the whatever that really don't know what's going on, right? Would you say that a lot of the times when you're you're sitting down with the decision maker of a business, would you say more often than not that they didn't even really know what was going on within their business until you brought it to their attention?
I think there's some things that people subconsciously avoid.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's numbers. A lot of
Right.
times it's that personnel problem, right?
Yeah.
That you have in there. I think, though, there's a lot of times they can't let go and they're micromanaging, or they're hyper focused on things that are, I mean, like, who's the CEO? Like, who's the worker and who's the CEO? Because right
Right.
now you look like the worker. So who's the CEO? And they're like, well, I am. And I'm like, okay, then I need you to be focused on
Right. I need you to lead.
things that make you the CEO, that actually drive and move the business forward.
Yeah.
And then we'll have the people that won't do something because they don't like it or they don't feel comfortable with it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? If I have to scrub the toilets, I'll scrub the toilets.
All right.
I'm willing to do everything in my business. Now, I've hired a lot of people to do a lot of different things,
Yeah.
and I am so happy they're with my team.
Yeah.
I am ecstatic that they
Exactly.
do
Like we can get to that point eventually of
Yeah.
not doing the things that we don't like. But, it's funny. Oftentimes the thing that we don't like is usually the thing that we need to do. So like when I look at my to-do list, so I always fill up my calendar. And then if there's time in between, I have these extra things that I want to do if there's time. And I always start with the one thing that I want to do the least because I know it's the most important.
Yep. That's your eat the frog
Always
moment
ends
right
that way.
there.
Yeah.
Just take on the ugly, get it done. It usually won't take you as long as you think it is. And
Yeah.
all the ruminating and thinking and
Yep.
complaining about it probably taken more time and more
Right.
energy than if you just actually went and did
Exactly.
the
If
thing.
you had done it at first when it
Did the
first came, like it's so frustrating. That's a lesson that I think most people learn multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've been to so many seminars and conferences and masterminds, and we go to these things, but realistically, and I don't care who you are,
Yeah.
most of the time when you leave there, you don't implement any of the stuff that you just learned. Not right away. Not right away. Sometimes you do, right? You may implement the easy stuff, the small stuff, right? But I started this podcast a year ago. Pete Vargas told me to start this podcast 4 years ago. No, 5 years ago.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And 5 years later, I'm like, all right, yeah, I guess he's right. But if I had started it 5 years ago, I cannot
Where would you have been?
imagine where I would be right
Yeah.
now. Like we just
Yeah.
hit 150,000 downloads and 30,000 subscribers
Congratulations.
in a year. Like if I
That's
would have started
phenomenal.
5 years ago,
Yeah.
it'd be amazing. And so, don't make those. My point is this: don't make those mistakes. Right? Do
Yeah.
the things that you don't want to do because those are the things that's going to push you the furthest along within your business almost every single time.
And you get so much more traction.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I think people don't understand. Like they'll
Get
ask,
comfortable getting uncomfortable.
get comfortable getting uncomfortable. That means you have to start outside your business. Go start outside your business. What is the most uncomfortable thing you can think of to go do? Is it skydiving? Is it rock climbing? Is it, what did I go do? I went and did trapeze yoga because I don't feel like I'm very coordinated physically. So this was a challenge for me, and it was hard, right? But it was the whole process of getting out there and trying something that I would not normally do.
Yeah.
And I find anytime I get into those moments where you're like, I don't know, should I do it? Should I not? I go find something totally different to do new. Right. So that I can come back and take that energy into doing whatever it is I should be doing in my business. But imperfect action will beat no action every single day.
Every time. Like it's one of the things that bug me about most people really is the not taking action, not making a decision. It's like when you ask your loved ones, where do you want to eat tonight? Or what do you want for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
I don't know. But if you say, hey, do you want tacos or steak? Steak. Boom.
Right.
Like some people you just have to, and sometimes you have to do that with yourself.
Yep.
Right? Like make yourself, figure out what type of decision maker you are. And then set yourself up for success. Like you said, not making a decision it can kill your business. It can really kill your business. Making a decision it's not the end of the world, because you can always change it. If it's not the right decision, you can stop it, you can change it. But sitting there and doing nothing is never going to be the best decision.
Well, and I like what you said earlier when you were like, every day is a new day. And I was like, that's the way I look at it in the business, is every day is a new day in my business. And honestly, I could do a 180 on everything that I've got going on today. Nothing is set in stone.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Well, I mean, things change too often. You can't set it in stone, right?
Yeah.
Like, business is constantly changing. People are constantly changing. The way people want to be talked to or sold, or where they get their
Oh my gosh, that
news, or,
changes so fast
I mean,
anymore.
everything changes constantly.
Yeah.
That there's nothing within business that you could just set and forget.
No, not
It just doesn't exist. Otherwise, everybody would do it.
Yeah. Don't you
Right?
think?
Oh, let me just set up this business, and
We have to get over trying to
I'll just
check
chill on the
things off a
beach.
list. People just want to check things off the list, and in your brain, that means it's done, it's complete. But it's much more about a journey and an evolution, and becoming better and more efficient, or, and having fun. For goodness sake, have some fun.
If you're not having fun within your business, you're in the wrong business.
Agreed. And I've lived that life. And I my first business, I say, sucked my soul dry, and then I gave it a rain check on the refill. This business is playground. This is where I thrive, and I know the difference, right? But you can also take something where you're thriving and totally work yourself into the ground to where it becomes a soul sucking adventure.
That's true.
Right?
That is true. Yeah.
But you always have a choice. You always have change. You can always make a different decision.
100%. If you're not happy where you're at, or you think something's not quite where it needs to be, or you're not trending in the right direction, you need to reach out to consultants. Period. Doesn't matter. Leslie Hassler, if people are trying to reach out to you and they want you to take a look at their business, see what's working, what's not, what they should stop doing, what they should do more of, as they grow their business, what's the best way to reach you, and how does that process work?
Surely. So the best way is to head over to yourbizrules.com/Versa. So
I'll make sure I put that link in the description so they can just
phenomenal. And we're going to have a couple things for you there. One is, if you just want to know more, we actually have a link to the copy of our book, First This, Then That. So it's a great way to kind of take a look at your business and start asking yourself those critical questions, or maybe looking in the dirty sock drawer that you didn't want to look in, and get a little bit more, acquainted with your business. And that's a great place to start. But if you're listening to us and you're like, wow, I want to talk to her, then there's a link for us to just have a chat. And that's what we're going to have. We don't do hard sales. Look, I respect my clients way too much to pull some of those tactics. But listen, if we can help, we're going to let you know. If you're kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face, we're going to let you know, in the kindest, most loving way. But we're here to be honest. To your point is, I think as business owners, it's so hard to get honest feedback, and 100%. You can't ask your staff, and sometimes you can't ask your colleagues because that divulges too much. 100%. But if you can have somebody that can say, hey, dude, you're doing well over here, but you're missing the boat. Can we work on this? And here's what to do next. I think that's worth its weight in gold.
100%. So true. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for jumping on with us today. A lot of our guests, I try to get back. I want to meet you in a year and see where you're at from now, see what's changed. So, looking forward to that. Like we talked about, things are constantly changing in business. It's all about working with the right people that can really take a look from the outside. They're not in it, they're not blinded, and really see what you need to focus on or stop focusing on.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed
Absolutely. Thank you.